AI really is getting everywhere these days. And how is that working out? Oh, right. They broke Notepad. Ah, dear God. Wasn't AI supposed to make things better, not worse? But then again, we know how corporate promises work out. Oh, what's that? Self-driving is now a subscription instead of a delivery that you were promised? Well, that's just how these things worked. Oh, Flash, no more animation. We want to move it all to cloud. Yep. Seems to me like AI was supposed to make things better, not like worse. And it just seems to be making things worse. Like artists losing jobs, programmers losing jobs. That does not seem like an improvement. And more than that, it seems like the whole thing is being pretty much forced on us. Even when it's not like forced. This was an assumed install. Like, there were supposedly ways to opt out of this stuff, but the vast majority of people just regularly updated their systems and suddenly Copilot. And the question being asked and the answers given is like, it's this whole story, but why push AI so much? It's the obvious answer. It's because of money. It's always because of money. They are for-profit companies and they want to make a profit. Like, the thing about improving their AIs and creating the data centers and all of that crap. Like, it's a massive amount of money, but do you want to know what it also is? It's not moving quickly enough and breaking things, which is a thing that they are fond of. Because building data centers takes time. And the reason why they want to build those data centers is so they can have their RAM and their processors and all that, so their software can upgrade itself in real time. But the thing about building and renting those data centers is that it brings down the cost of operations. Because ultimately AI is software, not hardware. Like, it needs hardware to run, but the actual refining of AI is software. And while it can run most effectively on the newest RAM, the newest hardware, and the fanciest cards, because it is software, it can actually run on any hardware. And so, while they can spend hundreds of billions of dollars to build data centers and save God knows how much money by being more efficient about refining their models, if there was another way that they could do some of those calculations that was, cheaper, like, say, free, well, don't you think those for-profit corporations would take it? So, we have smart televisions, smartphones, smart houses, all these smart devices, but what does it mean to be a smart device? Well, smart devices are actually just computer devices. They're literally just computers that are then being marketed as being smart. Your smartphone is a computer phone. It is a computer and a phone. The same thing goes for the TV and the refrigerator and all of that stuff. It has hardware that lets it do process things. And wouldn't you know it, when it's not doing those process things, like while your smart refrigerator is just sitting in your house and you're not using it, well, that's just hardware that isn't being used. And so if your LG TV or your Windows drive or your video game playing could have an AI in it, and it could be operating on that thing while you are not using it, or even while you are using it, well, why shouldn't they run their AI software in the background while you're not using it? Why shouldn't they borrow your hardware and your power and I mean, you're not using it anyway, right? They're already paying hundreds of billions of dollars to get access to, like, cheaper software processing, and they have this massive captive audience with already existing millions and hundreds of millions of PCs with Windows and smart TVs and smart devices and smartphones, that if they could just install their AI on all those devices, well, they might save a hell of a lot of money in what they have to pay those processing centers if they could get at least some of those operations to get executed on your hardware. And why do all that? Well, for the money again. Because all that investment into AI is supposed to be for like benefits for all and the good of humanity, but benefits for all and the good of humanity doesn't make profits today. And they're for-profit companies. Like that's just how it works. And so the thing is, nothing, and I do mean nothing, pays quite as well as war. Like, there's a reason why so many profit from it and so many terrible, terrible people sell weapons to terrible, terrible people. Like, that's just how it is. War is a massive business and nobody spends more of it than the United States military. And so these like Shaheed drones, one of the things how they do what they do, like Warfronts has a nice video on it, is that they have this AI chip that lets them navigate using literally off-the-shelf commercial components for the rest of it. And so if you can be in the company that gets to make those AI chips, to develop that AI, to get into that whole what's it called, military-industrial complex thing, the procurement process, if you can be the one that supplies the AI for any of these wars that spends like hundreds of drones a day, well, the thing about AI and the thing about software is that while you have a lot of upfront costs to develop it, you have basically zero costs to make more of it. If you're just copying software, that costs like nothing. But you can charge for each license you sell for every drone, and drones are expendable munitions. Each one of these hundreds of drones that you want to sell in the future to the US government for their copies of and their versions of the weapon, well, you get to charge $1,000, $10,000, $15,000 because it's just cheaper than spending Sidewinders and Tomahawks. And that's just pure profit. And once you're in the pipeline, in the military pipeline, like whoever crosses that finish line first, they'll be set for like a decade or 2 or 3, because the military isn't going to switch their products once they're finally to the procurement process and settle on someone. And that is basically an infinite money printer. So the AIs are racing towards this. This is what they're racing for. They're racing to who will be the first to supply the US military with something AI. Whether that is AI for drones or AI for tanks or AI for walking robots, like it doesn't really matter what kind of AI military use they find. Whoever finds it first is going to become as rich as Lockheed Martin. That is what they are all racing for. That is why there is so much money in it. It's about making more money. Like that's how it works. And the thing is, software that can navigate in the air and software that can navigate on the ground, like yes, will probably get functional self-driving at some point. But the same kind of software that does little robots that do delivery in an urban environment, or that let them drive cars on roads, or that let them fly in the air, if it has very nice and potentially very good civilian applications, but even before that it has military applications. Like the very same software that lets a car drive down the street also lets a tank drive down those very same streets. And if you can remove a driver from every tank, that's a saving not only in like pay but also in lives. And the thing is, how does it go? The thing they keep repeating. AI is the worst it will ever be. It's only going to get better. Well, right now, anybody who uses this current alpha and beta of AI, the early access of it, some of it is being paid and some of it is being free. But we are essentially helping them refine all that crap. Like all the Tesla drivers that are using Tesla self-drive and letting it gather all that data, like it's the same thing. You have a computer in your car, and in the terms and conditions it says we are allowed to gather data in order to improve the driving experience. And so you run your AI self-driving car and it makes a better AI and then they ship it over there and repack it and sell it back to you. Well, license it back to you. They're not going to sell it back anymore. And so that's how it works. And it works that way because in the terms and conditions they said, well, we are allowed to do this. They just changed the terms and conditions, or you don't read them, and it just, all of them include we are allowed to gather data to improve the software. And that's what they're doing. And if you stretch that definition a little bit, well, then that also includes them using your hardware and your power to refine their data. Like, it's not like they need to fully do that thing. It's just while the process is running anyway, they can also run some of those, like, once you know what operations you need to run to test your refinement, their servers can just hand them out like cards to the cards. A dealer with cards, they can just hand them out to all the other little smart devices that you own to perform those operations instead of having to pay a data center to do it. And once they've got you on terms and conditions, they can just, once they've got the final product, the refined AI thing, they can just keep hiking stuff up. And what are you going to do once you're used to relying on it? Like, say you do get a car that can self-drive and it goes everywhere, because you know, once they can, this is a common argument in AI car driving, how an AI car driver doesn't get distracted, they don't smoke, they don't get text messages, how it's safer. Once they actually make a product that is safer, you can bet your hiney that they are going to try to make regulations that say that you are obliged to have some kind of AI driver for the safety of everyone else on the road. And once that kind of regulation passes, well, combine that with the whole you're not allowed to buy AI drivers, you just have to license them, and that is another way that they can just print money. You are no longer allowed to drive. Your AI has to drive and you have to pay for your AI to drive. So now, even if you bought your car, you're not allowed to drive it unless you're paying them for their chauffeur to drive you around. Because you're human and you might make a mistake, unlike their AI. It's not, which is just an episode of Black Mirror. That's what that is. But the thing is, like, the reason why all that software is switching into like services, well, how should I put this? Innovation is great. Like, Excel is such such a useful software that everybody that does anything accounting or math related has probably used it at some point. But the thing is, they kept innovating and they kept innovating and they kept innovating, and they did it for like years and decades. But the thing is, at some point they made stuff that was good enough. Like, not the best, not the current professional standards AI optimal workflow thing. I mean, just something good enough for the ordinary person to solve their ordinary problems. And the software they made for that, like the kind of software you need to be able to do accounting, do the budget of your own house, or do your taxes, well, how should I put it? Software licenses both in the EU and the US, patent protection lasts 20 years. Copyright goes like to 80, 100, 120, but patent protection for software lasts 20 years. And well, while the Office support dates look like this, Microsoft Office 2003 came out in 2003. So, if we had 20 years to that, that's 2023. And 2007 came out in 2007. So, the patents on Office 2003 have already expired. And the patents on Office 2007 will expire next year. And that is a problem. That is a serious problem because, well, it's not like they're the only ones. Like Adobe has Creative Suites 1 and 2, 2003, 2005. Macromedia, 2005. Like Creative Suite 3 is 2007. Again, next year. And that doesn't even cover Windows, which is also 2005. Like, I think, which one was it? Editions, Service Packs. Yeah, Service Pack 2, 2004. Service Pack 3 is 2008. So Service Pack 2. So technically, with all the prevalence of vibe coding and all of that stuff, as things currently stand, and with all of these patents expired, what anyone could do was they could take Microsoft Office and strip the Microsoft out of it, right? If they had a legal copy of Microsoft Office, they could make their own, like, mega light Office. And just because you can patent the software, but you cannot copyright the code. They still have copyright on any icon, on every sound, on anything that is artistics, but we live in the age of easy AI. Even if you cannot find artists to remake you all the icons and replace all the sounds, you can just take a couple of AIs and have them recreate the icons and remake like notification sounds and whatever. And as long as you do not copy anything that is copyright protected and you only copy the code which performs the functions with which entire generations have now grown up familiar with, you can literally have your own vibe-coded version of Office that is no longer Microsoft, but works exactly like a version from 2003. And that thing may not be, it doesn't have AI, it doesn't have the latest bells and whistles, and it has problems like with malware if it's online, but it doesn't have to be. You can literally just, what you can do with Office, the Megalite thing, you can have Adept Creative Suite, you can have Doors operating system. So long as you do not violate their copyright, the patents are expired. And this is a massive problem. Because, well, yeah, sure, you can't do all the high fancy stuff that the professionals can do, and you can't do it as well, and you can't do it as quickly. But does the majority of ordinary folks really need to? Like 80% of modern games, this is the thing that is self-evident that people won't just say. Like, yeah, 4K, 280p. 280 frames per second, AI frame generation, whatever. Yeah, that's very impressive and nice, and like it's good that you're pushing the medium, but you know, we don't all need that. Like, as in video games, so in all other software, and for video games, like 720p 60 fps or 1080p 60 fps, it's good enough. That's the thing that like people, the investors, the companies won't accept, and people do. You do not like. There are some games that benefit a lot from switching up from 60 frames to 120 frames, and there are some games where they are visually impressive and immersive and better if you play them in a 4K screen instead of a 1080 screen. But when that comes with this kind of price hike, come on now. And the same thing is true with their service economy software, whether it's Office, Adobe, or Windows. Yeah, sure, you can go to Linux, but you can also just go back to the stuff that you grew up with and pay nothing for it. You don't even have to vibe code that stuff yourself. Someone else, somewhere else will do it. It can be done. And with the patents it's expired, so long as you do it carefully not to violate any copyright, it should be fully legal. And then the question becomes, well, in the last 20 years, what added functionality have you made? What's new? What is it that is still covered by innovation and patents and all that stuff? And is that still worth paying for as much as you're asking us to pay for it compared to what we could have for free now today? And that is the question that ruins all these like massive business plans. Because yeah, sure, you keep pushing the envelope, but for most ordinary people, for most ordinary gamers, for most ordinary uses in an office, from PDF to Excel to everything else, from 60 to 80% of all that, they do not need the latest thing. They do not require it. Like, yeah, sure, malware is a problem, but it has solutions. And beyond that, not having to pay hundreds of dollars every month for licenses is pretty big savings. And it gets even worse on a corporate level or on the level of a state when they're like buying tens of thousands of millions or millions of licenses. If somebody makes free versions of this all, if somebody makes good old software or just good enough software that's free, people aren't going to keep paying them millions and billions of dollars and euros just to end up, excuse the French, bent over when their software decides that suddenly, well, we no longer support this version of software and everything you made in this cloud is now going to go away, but we're offering this new version that costs more and does less. Does that sound like a good deal to you? Because it sounds like a horrible deal to me. Like, they want to replace the whole thing with cloud computing and running their own AI and stripping us of having the software and being entirely dependent on them and being subscribed and all of that stuff. But if people have other options, and we do, why would we put up with it? Like, why would anyone put up with a subscription for an office when you can have a free version without AI that doesn't slow down your computer and doesn't break with every update that you grew up practicing and you are long familiar with? Like, sure, the icons will be a bit different, the sounds will be a bit different, but it will literally be the same software, the same code, and the same functionality. And it will come without also the included AI slopware miner that's hijacking your hardware and your power and your electricity, that's making you pay for them refining their product. And you know they're doing it because the money is literally tens of billions of dollars. So if they can save even 100 million by taking all their operations and their refinements and spreading them out like Windows with its Copilot or any other AI company with their free AI, when you type in a query into your AI and it starts processing, can you see how much of that processing is actually working on your query and how much of that is the AI working on itself? And that's not even getting to the full-on crypto miner. Well, we got this AI update and suddenly my computer is slow and it keeps like stuttering, because you know that whole my computer is slow and it keeps stuttering. Those are the classic signs of having a Bitcoin coin miner installed on your PC. And that's not even getting into the whole thing where, okay, sure, you're going to get like the into military procurement and get that to be your like piggy bank, but as for the rest of us, like with like Microsoft Office has always had the LibreOffice, the free open source office, chasing its tails, and now it has its own previous software like patents expiring and that chasing them. The AI startups may be able to sell themselves to like military contractors and high-end professional contractors, but ordinary people, students, indie developers, they're not going to dish out like massive tens of thousands of dollars or euros for the latest thing. They're just going to find the closest, nearest good enough free option. And it's not like there aren't like good uses for AI. Like there are things that could be better. Like imagine if you have an Amber Alert and the moment it goes out, every camera or every car in the entire city just starts looking for the missing kid. Like, there are good applications, but... well, would you trust the current government to use them for good and not for evil? Because there are a lot of evil applications that it can be used for, like, whether by the Russians, the Chinese, the US, whoever, like... yes, there are good applications, but no, we are unlikely to see only the good. And that's not even getting into the whole, like, how many programmers, how many artists, how many truckers, how many people work in industries that are now going to get replaced. Like, truckers driving, what was the tradition there? Like, every truck has two drivers and they switch out how much they drive. Like, even if you just remove, like, what could you do with truckers if you have AI working as drivers? Like, even if you don't remove them entirely, even if you just have an autopilot, do you really think a corporation that invested in an AI license to let them drive and then hired a supervising driver to supervise the AI, that's not going to be a full-time job. That's going to be like a supervisor job, where one person supervises one truck or one convoy of trucks instead of each truck having two drivers. Because if they're going to pay for the AI, they want to get their savings, they want to get their profits. And that's going to be a massive disruption to the employment thing. Like, and not just the drivers, like, delivery drones walking the roads is not, like, I know China has some of them, but I doubt that that's actually, like, mature technology, but we've heard so many stories, so many horror stories about how workers in Amazon warehouses, what a terrible job it is, or what a great job it is, and how it varies depending on where you are, but do not for a moment doubt that if every grocery of every warehouse could replace their workers with robots and make it cheaper, that they won't. And that is literally millions of jobs, like from delivery to trucks to stocking shelves, all of it. And let's not even get into the planes. Like, they already have this Matrix thing which does flying for helicopters. Now imagine planes. Like, planes have autopilot, but currently they need to have two pilots. Every plane needs to have a pilot and a co-pilot. What do you think the plane companies would pay, and how much would they invest if they could just no longer have to hire pilots? Or if they could just hire pilots that instead of flying the plane all the time, they could just wait in their, like, spoke destinations and main hubs and just take over remotely when the plane is landing or taking off and just let it fly on its own otherwise? How much would they save money on that, and how hard will they fight for those kinds of changes to lower the number of employees and save more money and get more profits? And do you really think that any of us will see like the benefits of that? Do you think that prices will drop just because millions and millions of jobs have been saved from their cost sheets? Or do you think they're just going to do what they've always done when they save money and do more stock buybacks and more bonuses and more the rich get richer and the poor get poorer? I mean, come on, this is no longer a thing of what will they do. We have it as historical fact. They are going to do what they have always done. They are going to push millions of people out into the streets without jobs and apply downwards pressure on pay. Like, if there are millions and tens of millions of unemployed people, that means there is an oversupply of labor, and that means the price of labor will fall, and that means that all jobs will be for less pay because there are simply less jobs. So there are more people who need jobs and less people offering them. How did they put it? You own nothing and you'll be happy. Welcome to 2023. Well, we are well on our way to that future. So that is how AI will make things better. Better for them, not for us. Because let's be frank, cyberpunk was always the goal. And we are well on our way to it. That's why they're pushing AI so hard. Because once it becomes a fully mature technology, they will have automated drone AI security and will no longer even have to rely on people to protect the rich from the masses. And once you get there, once you get to the point where a man can pay to have security that's lethal, well, the main thing stopping corporations already from having their own private armies isn't a lack of money. And once all it takes is money, it won't be long at all. And we're already halfway there. So that's what we get to look forward to. And personally, I am not a fan. I'm not in favor of that, of such a future. Are you?